You are listening to episode 9 of Turn Coffee into Clients podcast show, and I'm the creator and host, Bella Networking Guru, networking expert and networking speaker. Event organizers and conferences hire me as a business networking keynote speaker. So guys, I have a bonus for you. This week we celebrated an event launch for Bella Networking Podcast, and actually we are approaching episode 10. It's a great personal achievement reaching episode 10. So next week I'll be so excited to deliver episode 10 and we can celebrate together. I had the idea to launch this podcast show in January this year 2020, and I've remained consistent uploading weekly episodes for you to grow your business using networking as a tool and motivating you to follow up after a networking event. So in this week's episode, I wanted to do something different and also share with you a Q&A question from the podcast launch event that took place this week, so that you get an opportunity to hear a question and also hear an answer that could possibly grow your business. The show, as you know, is entitled Turn Coffee into Clients. And networking success really starts at the moment you decide to follow up after the networking event and don't allow your business cards to turn into dust. I do understand it can become very difficult to find the time to follow up after a networking event. Not only trying to follow up after a networking event, but also it can become challenging when you have a delegate that you do want to follow up with and book that coffee, and somehow you may manage to find yourself playing tennis with each other, or sometimes other people say ping pong. And what I mean is you do make the attempt to reach out to book that coffee meeting and they don't reply to the email or they don't return your call. So yes, this can become frustrating because you are making the effort, but the other new connection hasn't replied to your communication. At the podcast event launch, this was a key question from the audience during the Q&A session, which I'd like to share with you.
You mentioned tenacity earlier. In the follow-up, how many times would you try? Because there's obviously a danger of you being a pest rather than being thorough in your following up.
That's a great question and a very important question, because as networkers and following up, we do not wish to appear that we are a pest. So the solution I have to that question is the power of 3, and I talk about the power of 3 often. That you implement a very simple plan whereby you make 3 points of communication. What I would suggest is you definitely begin with 2 telephone calls. The first call, reach out to the new delegate to arrange that coffee. If they don't return the call, wait a few days, call again, and then leave a voicemail or a text message. Then definitely leave it for 1 week and follow up with an email. I think after 3 communications, that is an adequate period to allow the other delegate to get back to you. And I think we need to look at networking as a numbers game and also understand the probability of the 80 to 20% rule, that after a networking event, it's highly unlikely 100% of the new connections you meet, every single one of them will say yes. So you need to have your overall number target of how many coffee meetings you would like to book for that week and set yourself a target so that you don't feel disheartened when you receive those new connections that do not follow through with a coffee meeting because you've already set yourself a target. Does anybody else in the audience have a question? Okay, thank you so much for coming along to Bella Networking event podcast launch. And you can find my podcast channel on all the major podcast platforms such as Spotify, SoundCloud, and Apple iTunes, and so much more. And I do ask you, please share my podcast channel with colleagues in your network so that together we can help the channel to grow. So thank you so much for coming along today. And if you do have any questions, I'll be sticking around until the very end of the networking. So guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the question during that Q&A session at the podcast event launch. If you have any questions for me, do reach out to me at bella@bellanetworking.com or write a question in the comments box and I'll be delighted to answer your question. And tune in next week as it will be a celebration event as I will be uploading episode 10. Gosh, I have to pinch myself because I just can't believe I'm at episode 10. If you want more information about the show, please visit the website turncoffeeintoclients.com.